Commander Zekthera stood on the bridge of the Hegemony flagship Dominion's edge, watching the strange blue planet rotate slowly below. The tactical display showed thousands of red dots scattered across the continents. Each dot represented human military installations, weapons factories, or population centers that would soon be reduced to ash. "All fleets report ready, Commander," announced Sub-Commander Vorth, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. The humans have been given the standard ultimatum. Surrender or face complete annihilation. Zekthera's four eyes focused on the communication screen as it flickered to life. A human female appeared, her strange two-eyed face showing what their xenobiologists had identified as defiance. She wore a simple uniform with symbols the Hegemony computers couldn't translate. "This is President Sarah Chen of the United Earth Federation," the humans said in their primitive language, which the translation matrix converted instantly. "We have received your demands. Our answer is no." A ripple of amusement passed through the bridge crew. Vorth's chitinous plates rustled with what passed for laughter among his species. "Commander, should we begin with the standard orbital bombardment? These mammals clearly don't understand their situation." Zekthera considered this. The Hegemony had conquered 847 star systems using the same approach. Arrive, demand surrender, and, if refused, demonstrate overwhelming force until compliance was achieved. No species had ever lasted more than 3 standard cycles against their military might. "Scan their defensive capabilities again," Zekthera ordered. "Something feels different about these creatures." The sensor operator's tentacles danced across his console. "Sir, the readings are the same as before. They have primitive projectile weapons, some nuclear devices, and basic aircraft that can't even break their own gravitational well effectively. Their most advanced vessels can barely reach their planet's single moon." On the screen, President Chen continued speaking. "You have invaded our solar system and threatened our people. While we may not have your advanced technology, we will not submit to tyranny. Earth stands ready to defend itself." Zekthera felt a strange sensation he couldn't identify. In all his cycles of service, no species had ever spoken with such confidence while facing complete technological inferiority. The humans had to know they were outmatched. His fleet contained enough firepower to shatter continents. "Begin the demonstration," he commanded. "Target one of their smaller landmasses. Something with minimal population but enough infrastructure to make our point clear." The weapons officer began charging the planet cracker cannons. These massive energy weapons could turn mountains to glass and boil oceans. They had never failed to convince a species to surrender. But, as the weapons powered up, something unexpected happened. The human leader smiled. "You're making a mistake," Chen said calmly. "You see our weapons and think you understand humanity's capacity for war. But you're only seeing what we fight with, not how we fight." Zekthera paused. "Clarify your meaning, human. We've been monitoring your communications since you entered our system. We've studied your previous conquests. Every species you've defeated fought you the way you fight, with bigger weapons, stronger shields, faster ships. They tried to match your technology." The smile on Chen's face grew wider, and Zekthera felt that strange sensation again. His species had excellent instincts for danger, developed over millions of years of evolution. Those instincts were screaming at him now. "We're not going to fight your way," Chen continued. "We're going to fight the human way. And you have no idea what that means." The communication screen went dark. Immediately, alarms began sounding across the bridge. The sensor operator's voice was filled with confusion. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures across the planet's surface. But they're not coming from weapons. They're coming from everywhere." Zekthera studied the tactical display. The red dots representing human military assets were changing. Instead of consolidating into defensive positions as every other species had done, they were scattering. Spreading out across the continents in seemingly random patterns. "What are they doing?" Vorth asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. "This makes no strategic sense. They're abandoning their defensive positions." The weapons officer looked up from his console. Sir, should I proceed with the demonstration strike? Zekthara hesitated. Every military manual in the Hegemony archive said to proceed. Show overwhelming force. Break their will to fight. It had worked on hundreds of worlds. Commander, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving thousands of transmissions from the planet's surface. All on different frequencies. All in their primitive languages. What are they saying? The officer's translator worked for several moments before responding. They appear to be instructions, sir. Technical specifications. Manufacturing processes. They're broadcasting information about us. Our ships, our weapons, our tactics. Zekthara felt his combat instincts surge to full alert. Impossible. They don't have the technology to penetrate our security systems. No sir, they don't. But, they're not using technology. They're using their eyes. Every human on the planet with access to their primitive optical instruments is studying our fleet. They're measuring our ships, analyzing our formations, calculating our capabilities. And, then, sharing that information with everyone else. The tactical officer added his own disturbing report. Sir, I'm detecting construction activity across multiple continents. Massive construction activity. But, it's not military infrastructure. They appear to be building factories? Manufacturing facilities? The construction is happening at an impossible rate. Vorth moved closer to Zekthara. Commander, I recommend we begin the bombardment immediately. Whatever they're planning, we should stop it before they can implement it. But, Zekthara was studying the planet below with new eyes. He had commanded fleets for over 200 standard cycles. He had conquered worlds that fought with energy weapons that could crack moons, species that could manipulate gravity itself, hive minds that could coordinate the actions of billions of individuals instantly. None of them had ever scared him. The humans, with their primitive projectile weapons and basic chemistry, terrified him. Sir? Vorth prompted. Your orders? Zekthara watched as the energy signatures across Earth's surface multiplied. Whatever the humans were doing, they were doing it fast. Faster than should be possible for a species that hadn't even mastered interstellar flight. Delay the bombardment, he said finally. I want to understand what we're facing. Sir, that's not standard protocol. The Hegemony High Command expects. The Hegemony High Command has never encountered a species like this, Zekthara interrupted. Look at the data, Vorth. Really look at it. Vorth studied his displays. I see scattered military units, primitive manufacturing, and a lot of construction activity. Nothing that poses a threat to our fleet. You're not seeing what I'm seeing, Zekthara said quietly. Every other species we've conquered tried to fight us ship to ship, weapon to weapon. They tried to match our technology. The humans aren't doing that. They're doing something else entirely. The sensor operator called out again. Commander, the energy signatures are stabilizing. But, there's something else. I'm detecting movement in their asteroid belt. Multiple objects changing course toward our position. Zekthara pulled up the long-range sensors. In the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets, dozens of rocky objects were indeed moving. But, they weren't moving naturally. Are those ships? Vorth asked. No, the sensor operator replied after a moment. They're just asteroids. But, they're being moved. Somehow the humans are changing their trajectories. Zekthara felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. The scattered military units. The massive construction projects. The information sharing. The moving asteroids. They're not trying to fight our fleet, he realized. They're trying to understand it. To learn from it. To adapt to it. President Chen's face appeared on the communication screen again. This time she was standing in what looked like a massive factory floor. Behind her, Zekthara could see humans working at an incredible pace, building something. Commander Zekthara, she said, somehow knowing his name. I hope you're beginning to understand. We've been watching your fleet for the past 6 hours. We've analyzed your ship designs, your weapon signatures, your formation patterns. We've studied every aspect of your technology that we can observe. Impossible, Vorth muttered. They don't have the computational power for that kind of analysis. Chan smiled again. You're right. No single human, or even a single human computer, could process that much information. But, we have 4 billion humans on this planet. Each one capable of thinking, learning, and sharing what they learn. Zekthara understood now. Distributed processing. They're using their entire population as a massive computational network. Exactly. While you've been debating whether to destroy one of our cities, we've been learning. And building. And preparing. The tactical display updated again. The asteroids in the belt weren't just moving toward the fleet anymore. They were accelerating. And, based on their trajectories, they would arrive in approximately 18 standard hours. What have you done? Zekthara demanded. We've done what humans do best, Chen replied. We've turned your own advantages against you. Your ships are powerful, but they're also massive. They can't maneuver quickly. Your weapons are devastating, but they're designed to target large, slow-moving objects like cities or other ships. On the screen behind her, Zekthara could see the humans were building something that looked like massive rails or launchers. Thousands of them, scattered across the planet's surface. You see, Commander, you made an assumption about how we would fight. You assumed we would try to build bigger guns, stronger ships, more powerful shields. But that would take decades, and you're here now. Chen gestured to the activity behind her. So instead, we're building smaller, faster, more numerous weapons. Weapons that can be manufactured quickly with our existing industrial base. Weapons that don't need to be more powerful than yours, they just need to be everywhere at once. The communications officer looked up urgently. Sir, I'm detecting launch signatures across the planet's surface. Thousands of them. Zekthara watched in amazement as the tactical display filled with new contacts. Small objects were launching from every continent, following ballistic trajectories that would bring them into orbit within hours. But, these weren't missiles in any conventional sense. What are those? Vorth demanded. Chen answered as if she could hear the question. Simple kinetic projectiles. Chunks of metal accelerated to high velocity. Nothing sophisticated about them. But, we've launched 50,000 of them, and we're launching 50,000 more every hour. Zekthara realized the scope of what he was facing. You're creating a debris field. Making orbital operations impossible. That's just the beginning, Chen said. Those asteroids we redirected? They're not weapons either. They're raw materials. In about 16 hours, they'll reach Earth's orbital space. We'll capture them, process them, and turn them into more projectiles. Millions of them. The weapon officer looked confused. But, sir, those primitive projectiles can't penetrate our shields. They don't need to, Zekthara said grimly. Shields are designed to stop energy weapons and explosive missiles. They're not designed to handle thousands of simple kinetic impacts. Chen nodded approvingly. You're starting to understand. Our weapons don't need to be better than yours, Commander. They just need to be different. Different in ways you haven't prepared for. The sensor operator's voice was urgent now. Sir, I'm detecting more activity. The humans are launching spacecraft. Primitive designs, but there are hundreds of them. More projectiles? Vorth asked. No, sir. These appear to be manned vessels. But they're not following attack patterns. They're dispersing. Spreading throughout the solar system. Zekthara felt that danger instinct growing stronger. They're not attacking us. They're making sure we can't wipe out their species with a single bombardment. Even if we glass their planet, their species will survive. Chen's expression grew serious. We've studied your previous conquests, Commander. Every species you defeated kept their population concentrated on their homeworld. Made them easy to threaten, easy to control. We're not making that mistake. The tactical display showed the true scope of human activity. Launches from the planet's surface continued every few minutes. The asteroid redirections were accelerating. And now spacecraft were spreading throughout the system, heading for the outer planets and their moons. This is impossible, Vorth protested. They don't have the industrial capacity for this kind of operation. They do now, Chen replied. 6 hours ago, we had separate nations, separate militaries, separate industrial bases. The moment your fleet appeared, all of that changed. Every factory on Earth is now part of our war effort. Every human is now part of our military. Zekthera understood what he was seeing, but his training told him it shouldn't be possible. No species can coordinate billions of individuals without advanced communication networks. You're right again. We can't coordinate billions of individuals. But we can give billions of individuals the same goal and let them figure out how to achieve it. You taught us what we needed to know when you announced your intention to conquer us. The communication screen split, showing multiple feeds from across Earth's surface. Factories that had been producing consumer goods were now manufacturing projectile launchers. Civilian transportation networks were moving materials and people with military precision. Research facilities were sharing data instantly across the planet. Every human on Earth now knows exactly what we're facing, Chen continued. And every human on Earth is contributing to our survival. Not because we ordered them to, but because they chose to. Zekthera had spent his career studying military tactics. He understood logistics, strategy, and the art of war. But this wasn't war as he knew it. This was something entirely different. You're not fighting us, he realized. You're adapting to us. Evolving to survive us. Chen smiled that terrifying human smile again. Now you're beginning to understand what makes humanity dangerous, Commander. We don't just fight. We learn. We change. We become whatever we need to become. The alerts on the bridge were constant now. Launch after launch from Earth's surface. More asteroids being captured and redirected. Human spacecraft spreading throughout the system like seeds on the wind. Commander, the weapons officer said quietly, if we're going to stop this, we need to act now. Every moment we wait, they become more difficult to eliminate completely. Zekthera looked at the tactical display one more time. The humans were right about one thing, his fleet could still destroy their planet. His weapons could turn their continents to ash and boil their oceans. But it would no longer end their resistance. In the 6 hours since the hegemony fleet had arrived, humanity had transformed itself from a planetary species into something spread across an entire solar system. They had turned every human into a soldier and every factory into a weapons manufacturer. And they had done it all with technology that was centuries behind his own. President Chen, he said finally, you said we don't understand how humans fight. Explain it to me. Chen looked directly at him through the communication screen. Other species fight with what they have, Commander. Humans fight with what we can become. You threatened our survival, so we evolved. In 6 hours, we became something you weren't prepared to face. The communication screen went dark again, leaving Zekthera alone with his thoughts and his growing sense that the hegemony had made a terrible mistake. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't fight with their arms. They fought with their minds. And there were 4 billion human minds now focused on a single goal, survival. 18 hours after first contact, Commander Zekthera faced a situation no hegemony manual had prepared him for. His flagship shuddered as another wave of kinetic projectiles struck the shields. The impacts were individually insignificant, but there were thousands of them. Shield strength at 67%, reported the defensive officer, her bioluminescent patches flickering with stress patterns. At current rate of impact, we'll lose shields in approximately 4 hours. How many projectiles are we tracking? Zekthera asked. Over 200,000, sir. And the number is growing by 30,000 per hour. Sub-Commander Vorth studied his tactical display with increasing agitation. This is absurd. These are just chunks of metal. Basic kinetic weapons. Our shields should handle them easily. Zekthera watched the display as another salvo of asteroids arrived from the belt. But these weren't raw asteroids anymore. The humans had somehow processed them during their journey, breaking them into smaller pieces, adding simple guidance systems, even basic propulsion. Report from engineering, announced the communications officer. The constant impacts are causing microfractures in the shield generators. They're not designed for this kind of sustained bombardment. Neither are we, Zekthera admitted. Our entire fleet doctrine assumes we'll face conventional weapons. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, antimatter warheads. We're designed to fight other advanced civilizations. On the main screen, Earth continued its frantic activity. The orbital space around the planet now resembled a construction zone more than a battlefield. Human spacecraft, crude but functional, were assembling structures in space. Some appeared to be manufacturing facilities. Others were clearly weapons platforms. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "I'm detecting something unusual." The human spacecraft aren't using conventional propulsion. They're using slingshot maneuvers? Gravity assists? They're using the gravitational fields of their own planet and moon to accelerate. Zekthera studied the flight patterns. It was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of carrying fuel for powerful engines they didn't possess, the humans were using the physics of their solar system itself as a propulsion source. They're not just adapting to fight us, he realized. They're adapting to fight in space with technology that was never designed for space combat. President Chen's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, Zekthera could see humans working frantically at control stations. "Commander, I hope you're beginning to appreciate the situation you're in. You cannot sustain this level of industrial activity," Zekthera replied. "Your planet's resources are finite." Chen smiled. "You're thinking like a hegemony commander. You see resources as something to be consumed. We see them as something to be transformed." The screen split to show multiple feeds from across the solar system. On Earth's moon, humans in primitive spacesuits were constructing what looked like mass drivers. On Mars, automated probes were setting up mining operations. Even in the asteroid belt, human craft were establishing processing stations. "In the past 18 hours, we've industrialized our entire solar system," Chen continued. "Every rocky body is now a potential ammunition factory. Every ice comet is now a source of fuel and life support." Vorth stepped closer to Zekthera. "Sir, this is impossible. They don't have the population to operate facilities across an entire system." "You're right," Chen agreed, apparently having heard the comment. "We don't have enough people. So we're building machines to do it for us." The screen showed automated factories on multiple worlds, all churning out the same simple products: kinetic projectiles, basic spacecraft, and more manufacturing equipment. "Self-replicating manufacturing," Zekthera breathed. "They're creating an exponential industrial expansion." "Exactly. Every facility we build constructs 2 more facilities. Every weapon we produce enables us to produce 10 more weapons." "Your mistake, Commander, was giving us time to think." The tactical display updated with alarming frequency. Human activity wasn't just increasing, it was accelerating. What had started as thousands of projectiles was becoming tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. "Sir," the weapons officer reported, "I have targets locked on the primary manufacturing facilities. We could destroy them with a concentrated bombardment." Zekthera considered this. "How many facilities are we tracking?" "Approximately 800 on the planet's surface, sir. Plus another 300 in orbital space and throughout the system." "And if we destroy them?" Chen answered before his officer could respond. "We'll build twice as many tomorrow. Every facility you destroy teaches us how to build better ones. Every weapon you use against us shows us how to improve our defenses." The communication screen expanded to show a 3-dimensional model of the entire solar system. Red dots marked human activity, and there were thousands of them. From Mercury to Neptune, humanity had established some kind of presence. "This is what you don't understand about our species, Commander. We don't just fight. We grow. We spread. We adapt. And we learn from everything you do to us. Zekthara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the bridge's environmental controls. You're not trying to defeat us. You're trying to outlast us. Now you're beginning to think like a human, Chen replied. We can't match your technology, but we can match your persistence. The question is, how long can you maintain this siege? It was a good question. Hegemony doctrine called for quick, decisive victories. The fleet carried supplies for a standard conquest cycle, approximately 60 standard days. But those calculations assumed the enemy would either surrender quickly or be destroyed quickly. Your fleet is designed for shock tactics, Chen continued. Overwhelming force applied rapidly to break an enemy's will to fight. But what happens when the enemy's will doesn't break? The answer was becoming increasingly clear. The fleet's resources would slowly drain away while humanity's resources grew exponentially. Already, shield maintenance was consuming more power than normal. The constant maneuvering to avoid the worst projectile swarms was burning through fuel reserves faster than planned. Engineering report, Zekthara ordered. Fuel consumption is running 30% above normal, came the reply. Shield power draw is 40% above baseline. If current conditions continue, we'll need to begin conservation measures within 10 standard days. Vortha's mandibles clicked nervously. Sir, perhaps we should call for reinforcements. Reinforcements won't help, Zekthara said grimly. More ships just mean more targets for them to practice on. Chen nodded approvingly. You're learning. Our weapons may be primitive, but we have millions of them. And we're building millions more. How many ships does the hegemony have? Zekthara didn't answer, but he knew the number. The entire hegemony fleet consisted of approximately 50,000 vessels of all classes. It sounded like an enormous number until compared to the industrial capacity of an entire species dedicated to warfare. We've been studying your previous conquests, Chen continued. The species you defeated had populations in the millions or low billions. Their industrial capacity was limited to single worlds. Their thinking was limited to single governments. The screen showed Earth again, but now the view was from space. The entire night side of the planet glowed with industrial activity. Every city, every town, every settlement was contributing to the war effort. We have 8 billion people, Commander. And every one of them understands that survival depends on innovation. You're not fighting an army. You're fighting an entire civilization's creativity and determination. Zekthara studied the tactical display one more time. In the past hour alone, humanity had launched another 50,000 projectiles. They had established 3 new manufacturing facilities in the asteroid belt. They had completed construction of what appeared to be a massive orbital platform around their moon. What is that structure? He asked. Chen smiled. That's our latest project. We call it a mass driver. It can accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed using electromagnetic acceleration. The implications were staggering. A mass driver of that size could launch projectiles with enough kinetic energy to damage even hegemony capital ships. But that's not the interesting part, Chen continued. The interesting part is that we built it in 18 hours using entirely automated construction. And we're building 12 more just like it. Impossible, Vorth protested. No species can construct orbital infrastructure that quickly. You're right again. No single species can. But we're not relying on just our species anymore. The communication screen split again, showing what looked like construction sites on multiple worlds. But the workers weren't all human. Some appeared to be mechanical, but others were clearly organic beings of different species. Commander, meet our new allies. Representatives from 6 different species you've conquered over the past century. It turns out that news of humanity's resistance has spread throughout the galaxy faster than your ships can travel. Zekthara felt his danger instincts spike to maximum alert. What are you saying? I'm saying we're not the only ones who've been watching and learning. Every species the hegemony has conquered has been forced to accept your rule. But they've also been forced to watch how you operate. And they've been waiting for someone to show them a different way to fight. The screen showed spacecraft arriving in Earth's system. Not human spacecraft, but vessels of clearly alien design. Some were sleek and elegant, others were massive and industrial. All were converging on Earth. 6 species have declared their independence from hegemony rule in the past 12 hours, Chen announced. They're sending ships, resources, and knowledge to support our resistance. We're sharing our innovations with them, and they're sharing theirs with us. The tactical display updated to show the true scale of what Zekthera was facing. The human resistance wasn't just growing exponentially, it was becoming a galactic movement. Your empire is built on the assumption that no conquered species will ever be able to challenge you technologically, Chen explained. But you never considered what would happen if they stopped trying to match your technology and started innovating around it. A new voice joined the communication, clearly non-human, speaking in harmonious tones that the translator rendered as musical. Greetings, Hegemony Commander. I am Harmony Singer Veltar of the Crystalline Collective. Our species was conquered by your forces 87 cycles ago. We have been waiting for this moment ever since. Another voice, this one with a mechanical undertone, designation, Supreme Constructor Archnode 7. The Silicon Hegemony brings manufacturing capacity beyond your comprehension. Humanity has shown us the path to freedom. One by one, representatives of 6 different species introduced themselves. Each one had been conquered by the hegemony. Each one had been waiting for exactly this opportunity. You see, Commander, Chen said, you created this alliance by being so effective at conquest. Every species you defeated learned from the experience. They've been sharing information about your tactics, your weaknesses, your technologies. Zekthera realized the scope of the catastrophe unfolding. This isn't just a rebellion. It's a revolution. Exactly. And it's spreading faster than you can contain it. Right now, hegemony forces on 47 different worlds are facing uprisings. All using variations of the same tactics we've developed here. The communication screen showed a galaxy-wide map with red zones marking areas of rebellion. The pattern was clear, every conquered species was rising simultaneously, using distributed manufacturing, exponential production, and innovative tactics designed specifically to counter hegemony advantages. The galaxy didn't anticipate humans fighting without traditional weapons, Chen concluded. But, more than that, the galaxy didn't anticipate that fighting without traditional weapons would become a template for galactic liberation. Zekthera looked at his crew, seeing his own realization reflected in their faces. The hegemony wasn't just facing a human resistance. They were facing the end of their empire. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Chen shook her head. You don't understand yet, Commander. We don't want terms. We want transformation. The screen showed construction projects on dozens of worlds, all following the same pattern: exponential industrial expansion, innovative engineering, and relentless adaptation. We're not just fighting to be free from the hegemony, Chen explained. We're fighting to make sure no species ever has to face what we've faced. The galaxy is about to change, Commander. The question is whether the hegemony will change with it or be swept away by it. Zekthera realized that everything he had thought he understood about warfare, about conquest, about power itself, was becoming obsolete. Humanity hadn't just resisted the hegemony, they had made resistance itself into a technology that could be shared, improved, and spread across the galaxy. The revolution had begun, and it was unstoppable. 72 hours after the first shot was never fired, Commander Zekthera stood in the ruins of everything he had once believed about military power. His flagship drifted powerless through Earth's orbital space, shields gone, engines offline, weapons systems disabled by thousands of tiny impacts that had worn them down like water wearing away stone. Around him, the remnants of the once mighty hegemony fleet hung dead in space. Not destroyed in glorious battle, but simply stopped. Overwhelmed by an enemy that had never built a single weapon capable of matching their technology. Sir, reported the communications officer, her voice barely above a whisper, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. President Chen appeared on the screen, but she was no longer alone. Representatives of a dozen species stood with her in what appeared to be a vast command center. The sight that truly shook Zekthera, however, was the hegemony uniforms visible among the group. His own people, officers from ships throughout the fleet, stood alongside their former enemies. "Commander Zekthera," Chen said, her voice carrying none of the triumph he had expected. "I want to show you something." The screen shifted to display a view of Earth from space. But this wasn't the blue and green world the hegemony had first encountered. This was something entirely new. Orbital rings encircled the planet like delicate jewelry. Space elevators stretched from the surface to orbital stations. And, everywhere, spacecraft moved in carefully choreographed patterns, carrying materials and people between Earth, its moon, and the growing network of facilities throughout the solar system. "This is what we've built in 3 days, Chen explained. Not weapons of war, but tools of creation. We turned our entire civilization into a manufacturing network not to destroy you, but to show you what's possible when species work together instead of conquering each other." Zekthera found his voice. "My fleet is disabled. My crews are defeated. Why are you showing me construction projects?" "Because you still don't understand what happened here," replied a new voice. Captain Mordak of the Hegemony Cruiser Triumphant will appeared on screen, standing beside Chen. His expression was calm, thoughtful, not that of a captured officer. "Mordak?" Zekthera's voice carried shock and confusion. "Report your status." "Sir, I'm not a prisoner." "None of us are." "That's what I'm trying to tell you." The screen split to show multiple feeds from throughout the fleet. On ship after ship, Hegemony crew members were working alongside humans and other species, not as captives but as collaborators. 3 days ago, we came here to conquer a primitive species, Mordak continued. What we found was something none of us had imagined. A species that doesn't fight to destroy, but fights to create. They didn't defeat us, sir. They converted us. Chen stepped forward. "Commander, when your ships began taking damage from our kinetic bombardment, what was the first thing your crews did?" Zekthera considered the question. "They followed standard procedure. Damage control teams began repairs while maintaining defensive positions." "Exactly. They began trying to solve the problem. And, when our projectile swarms grew too dense for conventional evasion, what did they do? They began calculating new trajectory patterns. Developing innovative maneuvering techniques." As he spoke, Zekthera began to understand where this was leading. "Your crews are problem solvers, Commander. Just like ours. When we realized we were fighting people who thought the same way we do, everything changed." The screen showed scenes from throughout the fleet over the past 3 days. Human engineers working alongside hegemony technicians to develop new shield harmonics that could better handle kinetic impacts. Alien mathematicians collaborating on orbital mechanics problems. Species that had been enemies sharing knowledge to solve challenges neither could handle alone. "You have to understand," Chen continued, "we never wanted to destroy your fleet. We wanted to prove a point. That intelligence applied cooperatively is always more powerful than intelligence applied destructively." Captain Torvash of the Hegemony Dreadnought Eternal Conquest appeared on screen. Her usually stern features showed something Zekthera had never seen before: enthusiasm. "Sir, you need to see what they've accomplished. In 72 hours, working together, we've solved engineering problems that have stumped hegemony scientists for centuries. The humans don't just innovate quickly, they innovate collectively. Every breakthrough is immediately shared with everyone else." "This is impossible," Zekthera protested. "Species don't cooperate. They compete. They conquer or are conquered. The strong dominate the weak. It's the natural order." "No, sir," Mordak replied gently. "It's the hegemony order. And we've been enforcing it for so long we forgot there were other ways to organize civilization." Chen gestured to the beings surrounding her. "Commander, I want you to meet the Galactic Cooperation Council. Representatives from every species in this system, including yours. In 3 days, we've accomplished more scientific advancement than the hegemony achieved in the past century." The screen showed a list of breakthroughs scrolling past faster than Zekthera could read. New propulsion technologies. Advanced manufacturing techniques. Medical discoveries. Energy generation systems. All developed through collaborative effort between species that had never worked together before. How? Zekthara asked. By doing what humans do naturally, Chen explained. We share information. We build on each other's ideas. We see differences as advantages, not threats. Harmony Singer Veltar of the Crystalline Collective stepped forward. Commander Zekthara, my people have been slaves to the hegemony for 87 cycles. In 3 days working with humanity, we have advanced our crystal growth technology beyond anything we achieved in a millennium of independent development. Supreme Constructor Archnode 7 added its mechanical voice. Efficiency parameters have exceeded all projections. Collaborative innovation produces exponential returns. Previous isolation protocols were suboptimal. Zekthara studied the data flowing across the screen. Production figures that should have been impossible. Scientific breakthroughs happening daily. Technological innovations emerging from the combination of different species' knowledge bases. The hegemony maintained power by keeping species isolated, Chen explained. By making sure conquered worlds could never share knowledge or coordinate resistance. But isolation doesn't just prevent rebellion, it prevents progress. The implications were staggering. For 1,000 years, the hegemony had been suppressing the galaxy's potential for advancement by preventing cooperation between species. Sir, Captain Mordak said quietly, I want to show you something specific. The humans have been working on a project they think might interest you. The screen changed to show a massive construction project in space. But this wasn't a weapon or defensive installation. It was clearly a starship, but unlike any design Zekthara had ever seen. We call it the Unity, Chen explained. It's designed using the best engineering principles from all 12 species now working together. Hegemony structural integrity, crystalline power systems, silicon manufacturing precision, human adaptability, all combined into something none of us could have built alone. The ship was beautiful in a way that hegemony vessels never were. Where hegemony ships were designed to intimidate, this vessel was designed to inspire. Its lines were graceful yet strong, its systems elegant yet powerful. Its purpose isn't conquest, Chen continued. It's exploration. We want to visit every species in the galaxy and offer them the same choice we offered your crews. Join us in cooperation, or remain isolated in competition. Zekthara felt something he hadn't experienced in decades, hope. You're offering them a choice? Everyone gets a choice. Including you, Commander. The screen shifted to show Zekthara's own ship, but now he could see human and alien engineers working alongside his crew to repair the damage from the kinetic bombardment. They weren't fixing it to hegemony specifications, though. They were improving it. Your people are brilliant engineers and tacticians, Chen said. But they've been constrained by hegemony doctrine. Working with other species, they're developing innovations that could revolutionize space travel. Captain Torvash appeared again. Sir, we've increased engine efficiency by 40% just by incorporating crystalline energy focusing techniques. And that's just the beginning. What are you asking of me? Zekthara said finally. Chen's expression became serious. We're asking you to help us change the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. We're building a network of species that share knowledge, resources, and innovations freely. Every species that joins makes all the others stronger. And if I refuse? Then, you're free to leave. We won't stop you. We won't pursue you. But we will continue building our network, and eventually, the hegemony will have to choose between adapting to a galaxy where cooperation is more powerful than conquest, or becoming irrelevant. Zekthara looked at the data one more time. The production figures, the innovation rates, the technological breakthroughs. In 3 days, this collection of species had accomplished more than most hegemony worlds managed in years. Sir, Sub-Commander Vorth said quietly, I've been reviewing the projections. If this rate of advancement continues, within a year they'll surpass our technology. Within a decade, they'll surpass anything we can imagine. I know, Zekthara replied. He thought about his career, about the hundreds of worlds he had conquered, about the hegemony's 1,000-year reign of dominance. All of it built on the assumption that conflict was inevitable and cooperation was impossible. Humanity had proved that assumption wrong. "President Chen," he said finally, "I want to discuss terms." Chen smiled. "Not terms, Commander. Possibilities." The screen expanded to show the entire solar system, now bustling with activity from a dozen different species. Construction projects, research stations, manufacturing facilities, and exploration vessels were everywhere. But, more importantly, beings from all these species were working together, learning from each other, building something greater than any of them could achieve alone. "This is what we're offering the galaxy," Chen explained. "Not human dominance replacing hegemony dominance, but genuine cooperation between equals. Every species contributing their strengths, sharing their knowledge, working toward common goals." Zekthara made his decision. "What do you need from me?" "Help us contact the Hegemony High Command. Help us explain what we're building here. Give them the same choice we gave you." "They won't listen. The hegemony has ruled through strength for a millennium. They won't give up that power voluntarily." Chen nodded. "We know. But we have to try. And if they refuse?" She gestured to the bustling activity around them. "We'll just keep building. Keep innovating. Keep showing the galaxy that there's a better way." The communication screen shifted one final time, showing a view of space around Earth. But now it wasn't just the human solar system. Ships from dozens of species were arriving daily, drawn by reports of the cooperation happening here. The revolution was spreading exactly as Chen had predicted. "The galaxy is changing, Commander," Chen said. "The question is whether the hegemony wants to be part of that change or be swept away by it." Zekthara looked at his crew, saw the excitement in their faces as they worked alongside former enemies to build something new. He thought about the alternative, returning to the hegemony, reporting his failure, watching as the galaxy slowly turned against everything his civilization represented. "I'll help you contact High Command," he said finally. "But, I should warn you, they won't surrender easily." Chen smiled the dangerous human smile one last time. "Commander, we never expected them to surrender at all. We expected them to adapt. Just like you did. Just like your crews did. Just like every intelligent species does when given a better option." She gestured to the activity around them, humans, hegemony officers, and aliens from a dozen species working together to build technologies that none of them could have imagined alone. "The galaxy didn't anticipate humans fighting without traditional weapons," she continued. "But, more than that, the galaxy didn't anticipate that the most powerful weapon of all would be the simple idea that we're stronger together than we are apart." Zekthara realized that the war was over. Not because anyone had been defeated, but because humanity had made war itself obsolete. They had shown the galaxy that cooperation was not just morally superior to conquest, it was practically superior as well. The hegemony could try to maintain its empire through force, but it would be competing against a network of species that shared knowledge freely, innovated collectively, and grew stronger with every new member. It wouldn't be a fair fight. And, for the first time in his career, Zekthara was glad that his side wasn't going to win.